Good evening, meteorologist Bob Acanfrio with today's tropical update for Wednesday, August 1st, 2012. Well, a little sooner than I thought. Well, actually, if you follow my blog over there at weatherbunker.com today, around late this morning, I noticed that, whoa, it looks like we got some thunderstorms starting to pulse up around the center of circulation. And at that time I commented, hey, we might see a depression by tomorrow. Well, a little sooner than tomorrow. We see one this evening, but we have it here. Tropical Depression number 5, and it's located 12.2 north, 49 west, winds 35 miles per hour, movement west-northwest at 18. First track out by the National Hurricane Center, and they're pretty much going with the consensus of the models, which, you know, your first few tracks, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go with the consensus, and that's exactly where they have it. The consensus does follow the GFS model pretty well, and they tell you on the first discussion that the intensity forecast is going to be tricky, isn't it always, right? This one's really going to be tricky. This could be one of those storms where it could easily dissipate in this area here in the Eastern Caribbean, or even before it gets to the islands, or weaken, or it could get into this area and really start cranking up as it gets towards the Western Caribbean. It could go either way, and the models are showing that right now. We have the GFS cranking it up here in the Western Caribbean as a hurricane, and that's with the official intensity forecast right now by the National Hurricane Center. Again, the first one out does follow the GFS in that regard. They might still be in love with the GFS from Debbie, right? If we all remember that. But so we have you know, following that right now. Now, meanwhile, the Euro totally dissipates this system and basically has it as a wave here in the Western Caribbean. So we have GFS hurricane, Euro wave. So go figure. So again, who knows at this point down the road? You know, we're talking about 5-day forecast, a lot of uncertainty. But again, this is the pretty much the track right now by the National Hurricane Center. Again, going with consensus. And I'll go over the models really quickly with you here in a minute. Looking at the last little visible shot here, doesn't all really look all that exciting. What's happening right now is we have a lot of shear just to its north. And I showed you that yesterday when we were talking. I said, boy, it's right on that cusp of a lot of shear, no shear. Well, you can see this storm's kind of cut in half by that, where the heavier convection is to the south and not much to the north. And here's the circulation right there. You can kind of make it out right there. It's been kind of pulsing up and down with convection, and right now we're kind of on a downward pulse. If we put a little color on here, you can see where it pulsed up this afternoon. Now it's kind of died out. We might have a new kind of pulse up convection here trying to start closer to the center again tonight. And that's going to happen here in the next day or two as this shear just stays to its north. Now, if this gains any kind of latitude here, it is definitely going to run into that higher shear, and it could just go poof very easily. So again, that's what I was saying. This one's going to walk the tightrope here in the next couple days of whether it tries to get going to Ernesto or not. And it's going to be on that line. Let's look at the shear real quick here. We're going to zoom in here, and you can see center here, higher shear here, and this is located with the upper level low way to its north here, but it's big tut feature here, and a lot of shear to its north. So again, as this moves west, you know, there's the models are kind of saying, well, this feature could move west with the system, and this shear is going to stay in it. And as this gains a little bit of west-northwest movement, it could really keep banging into that shear and really not develop all that strong. That's a possibility. You know, and I think up until it gets to the islands, and this looks like it's going to pass near Barbados or maybe just to the north of Barbados. I think until it gets to the islands, we're not really going to see this strengthen all that rapidly. But there is that possibility of definitely seeing a tropical storm before it gets to the islands. I don't see anything stronger than that right now, looking at the conditions out ahead of it. So for the islands, not too much worry. Just expect some tropical storm conditions, you know, by about Friday, Saturday time frame. Let's look at the bigger picture here of the shear. And there's that, again, that upper level system to its north. Here's our system here creating that shear. We have another tut feature here in the Western Caribbean. And this is going to be interesting. As the system moves west here the next 3, 4, 5 days, west-northwest, into the eastern and then central Caribbean, this tut feature continues to retrograde to the west or even to the southwest, really could be in a nice area here. And this is what the GFS is depicting, really, that conditions are going to become very favorable here in the Western Caribbean for the system to really get going in about 5 to 6 days. But then again, the Euro says no. So there we have it. So, some conflicting details there. Again, who do you side with now? We really don't know. So we'll have to, again, it's going to be more of a wait and see, take this piece by piece forecast. But that's really what's going to be out ahead of this system now. Does it survive in the Eastern Caribbean is also a big thing. Will the trade winds try to rip this apart before it even gets to the Central Western Caribbean? Very possible. The Euro might be onto something. So, again, more of a wait and see forecast here. I think it's going to hang on, possibly become a tropical storm by the time it gets to the islands. And then we're going to have to see. Now, once it gets into the Central Western Caribbean, I'll show you where the models are at and what could or could not happen here. The bigger picture water vapor loop, just to show you, here's that upper level system here. Here's that shear just to the north of our system right there. And here's that other tut feature right here in the Western Caribbean. Here's that tropical wave from yesterday. It's going to kind of increase the moisture across South Florida this weekend. It's not really that strong, but it could add to to a little bit of rainfall there across the peninsula. Troughiness along the eastern United States here. Down the road, what's going to happen is high pressure is going to build in here for the weekend in the western Atlantic here to the south here. So that's going to definitely keep this on a west-northwest track. Then by early to the middle of next week, could be more of a weakness here again in the Gulf of Mexico. So again, once this thing gets into the central or western Caribbean, is it going to try to start sneaking a little north? Again, depends how strong the system is too as well. Stronger system could want to tend to get up towards this way. Again, let's not go ahead of ourselves. Oh, is it going to hit the United States? I mean, this is a week away, maybe even a little more than that, 6, 7, 8 days away. So let's not get caught up in that just yet. I'm just saying out there, that's the possibility. So just be aware. This is like the be aware time and wait and see. A lot of uncertainty so far. The model. So here we go. Here's consensus line right here, the TVCN, and you can see the National Hurricane Center forecast track pretty much. Here's the National Hurricane Forecast track right here, pretty much going with consensus. And that's what they'll do in the beginning, especially first forecast or two. It's going to go with consensus, and that's where we're at. These are all the GFS ensemble models. The yellow line is the Canadian. Canadian's been pretty far north. That and the no gaps has been way north, but you could probably discount that. This isn't coming up here. Canadian's been the farthest north. You can see some of the BAM models now a little farther north as well. So there are some that want to take it a little farther north. The UK Met model is also a little farther north and then sneaks it up this way as well. So this is where the uncertainty is going to lie later in the forecast, around that 4 or 5 day. Will it get stronger and try to catch that weakness and move it more north? Will it stay weak and go farther west? This is where you could just put a big question mark right here. Just make believe this is a question mark. This is where the uncertainty unfolds. The next 2, 3, 4 days, we pretty much know what this system's going to do. Possibly become a tropical storm as it nears the islands. Then after that, so we'll call this, going to be a tropical storm yet. Survival mode here, Eastern Caribbean, that's going to be survival mode, right? Will it survive? Then if it does survive, does it get stronger and crank up? And then will it move farther north? So that's kind of the pieces of the puzzle here that we're going to forecast with and see what happens. All right, guys, so stay tuned. I'm going to try to pop these videos out, hopefully every day if we have time here, or at least every other day. And if you have any questions, comments, you could put them in Facebook, ask me, or even at weatherbunker.com or my other site there, the thunderboltweather.com as well. Take care and have a good night.